Hi everybody, hope you're well. This video was requested by AuroraNights. So this is going to be, how do you know if you're getting a good deal on a horse in the sales? This is kind of difficult to answer, but I'm going to try my best. And the reason it's kind of difficult to answer is because everybody has an opinion and opinions can be very varied. So I'm going to kind of give you my opinion and I'm going to try and be as diplomatic about it as possible. So let's say, for example, you've got a particular horse in mind. Generally, the best way to know if you're getting a good deal in sales or not is to compare it with other horses. So I'm going to take the example of Pass Horse here because there's two Pass Horses showing up right now. So we're going to go for the horse that's over 30 years old and it's not immortal. So I'm going to click search. So searching that, you can see there's a huge amount of horses there to have a look at. Some of them are there for passes, and some of them are there for equus, and some of them are for a variety of two. So let's say, okay, well we don't want a GA one, we're not interested in GA one, so we could automatically get rid of those and click search again. So you want to first off get a look at what generally is there. So sometimes you will look for a specific horse and there will be none existing, or there might only be one in sales, and that can be very difficult to judge because if you have a horse that there's only one of a kind in sales, it's kind of difficult to kind of decide whether or not it is worth what it's being sold for and whether you're getting a good deal. But I think if that's the case, you need to expand your search a little bit. So look for something maybe not exactly the same, but slightly similar. And that's the only way you can kind of base it off. But the one thing to do to decide really is to cut it down. So for example, I didn't want to buy a pass horse that had a GA on it there. The next thing I might decide is, okay, well I don't want to spend passes on a pass horse because I want to use the pass horse to get passes. So that's the other thing you could do. So then we've got an idea here. Now when you're looking at the sales here, you'll notice one thing is all of these would have to be agent points except for this one. So maybe you decide, well this is the only, I don't have any agent points to use. I want to get my pass now. This might be your choice to go with this one. And you can see that it's slightly, like literally one equus more than these ones that you'd have to probably age. So you want to think about things like that. It's really about deciding whether or not you're getting a good deal. Now sometimes you might be thinking, right, I want a bargain. If you're looking for a bargain, then you need to look harder. It's a bit more difficult, so usually people know what their horses are worth. So it's not always about paying the least that you can possibly go. But if you want to pay the least amount, you click, to search, and there you've got the highest to the lowest. You know what there is there to buy. I know you could go for a slightly different age, so we'll say lower age. You can see there's nothing coming up. If you want to go for horses that are over 25, and then you're going down in a smaller price range that you would have to then spend time aging them up, and you have to take that into consideration. So really, it is difficult to know if you're getting a good deal on a horse, but I think the first thing to do is compare it to similar horses. If there's nothing very like it, then look for something the nearest to it. Some people will price horses extortionately, some people price horses quite cheap, and some people know exactly what their horse is worth, and if you offer them less, they're probably going to be insanely offended and you probably get blocked. But it's kind of, you kind of have to test the water and know how to be, if you're going to, I would avoid messaging people about horses if it doesn't say negotiable. So for example, I might want this horse here, but it doesn't say negotiable underneath it. So me messaging them and saying, can I have that horse for 50k? They might just shoot me in the foot, okay? So in situations like that, you want to look for people that have it up as negotiable. That doesn't mean you're going to get it for half price. It doesn't mean you're going to get 90% off. It just means that they're willing to negotiate about the price. So you sort of want to maybe do that. Perhaps you do want to look for horses that are negotiable in the sales because you want to be able to have a little bit of leeway with what you're paying. But just be careful about how you go about it. Don't immediately message someone and say what's the lowest you'll take, because most people won't take that well. In terms of, I'm going to mention one other thing. Say for example you wanted to buy RC coats, okay? RC coats being retired golden apple coats. Some of the things you want to take into consideration is how many copies are left. So looking here, you can see there's one with 99 copies, 93, 86. So there's a rarer one than that one. So you know, it depends. Like, you can get RCs that have up to, you know, a huge amount of copies. So some people, if you go into sales and you see a very, very rare coat at quite a reasonable price compared to coats that are not as rare, then you might be getting a bargain there. Really, it just depends. Sometimes I usually find it's actually better to buy them for passes, because I think you get a better deal than some of the Equus ones. Just depending. Sometimes one of the good things to do is actually to go into the sales and look for horses that are actually golden apple coats currently. The reason I say this, and I'm going to click off the passes, is some of these coats, if you have a look here, these actually price-wise aren't too bad. Let's just hover over this one and I'll see if I can find one as a good example of this. So if I click on that and have a look there, you can see that that one's not going to come up. But some of these will be potentially future retired coats. Okay? So sometimes when you go into the sales and you look at these horses, you want to look for horses that are going to eventually be these silver apples, be these retired ones. Those are the coats that you want to look out for, because sometimes you'll pick them up cheaper while they're golden apple, and you might have to pay 3 times as much whenever they're retired. So that's one of the things that you might want to do. That's a good way of knowing you're getting a bargain, is paying less for it before it becomes rare, essentially. That's the way you want to think about it. So those are some of the things to keep in mind. But it's kind of, you know, you sort of learn as you go along, really, whenever you're getting a good deal and when you're not. It's something that you eventually get there with, but I find that checking out, getting the right idea of price levels, whether that's based on their coat colour, their breed, or both, or the species, their age, you know, what items they have, eventually you'll get an idea, roughly, of that. Anyway, thank you to AuroraNights for requesting the video, and hope you love it. Bye-bye.